Give a huge warm welcome to meet the filmmakers here at the Apple Store, the writer and director of the film and star of the film, Mr. Matt Smith and Ryan Gosling. Please sit. Welcome, gents.
Thank you. Hi.
Congratulations, first of all. Your first film, directing and writing. Yeah. I guess, if you don't mind, we start, Matt, with Ryan and find out about the seed of this film. Where did the seed for this idea come from, for this story, first of all?
I thought we'd have hand mics.
Yeah, you can pretend if you want.
It makes it hard to kind of drop the mic. The seed of it came from, I had an opportunity to work in Detroit, and you know, I'm from Canada. Let's just get that out of the way right away. And I had I guess kind of a crush on America and Detroit. Detroit, just growing up, always seemed like everything cool came from Detroit, you know, from Motown to Eminem to, you know, just like Motor City, really the image of the American dream, or the iconic image of that. And when I finally had an opportunity to go there, it was just very different, you know. At this point, there's like 40 miles of abandoned neighborhoods, and within those neighborhoods, there's, you know, like occasionally families that are trying to keep their homes, and the neighborhoods are being torn down and burned down around them. And when I got there, they had just declared bankruptcy, and they were cutting off the power to the street lights. So it just seemed like that dream had kind of become a nightmare for these families. So I just thought I would like to try and make a film about that.
And was it always your idea that you'd write it and direct it?
Yeah, well, you know, it didn't happen like I'm gonna direct. You know, it just, I had this experience there. You know, they were tearing down all these like historic buildings, and I thought, if I don't start right now, it's gonna be gone. So yeah. I got a Red camera, and I just, over the course of a year, sort of went there and just, when I had time, started filming. And it was, suddenly I was making the movie, and then, you know, and then I wrote the script, and I had footage that I could use in the film, and then, you know, I was lucky enough to get like my favorite actors on board, and then we got some money, and then we were making it. So it happened in a sort of a pretty natural way.
And then you're here talking about it.
Now we're here at the Apple Store talking about it.
Matt, can I ask you, what was your reaction when you first read the script?
Is that I want to do it. It was immediately. It was like, I want to do this film. And actually, I was meant to fly back from New York, and then I got a phone call saying that Ryan was going to come over and meet me. And I remember waiting in the in like the waiting room in New York for the meeting, and Ryan walked in and was like, "Hey, Matt." I was like, "Shit, Ryan knows my name." And then we had the best audition that I've ever had, and we it sort of started really brilliantly for me, and continued that way. It was a wonderful process.
I came out of the film with so many questions, and whilst you're watching the film, there's your kind of brains kind of trying to dissect things the whole way through. And one of the things that I kept thinking about once I left the cinema was Bully's backstory and how he came to be who he is in the film. Was that something you guys talked about and kind of worked out in terms of getting there as the character for when you started rolling?
Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing about Bully is that he's sort of always been there. He's always been drifting, and we kind of came across this, you know, it was a really interesting process. There was, all the actors were on the same page, and we worked with this really interesting lady called Greta. You know, for Bully, there was sort of like, for me anyway, there was always like a kind of timelessness to him, where he's always been existing, and he was always this sort of weird spirit that had been around forever, living in this desolate place. And yeah, you know, it's. I thought a lot about that, and actually, this whole process for me as an actor was the most sort of unique and rarefied that I've ever had on a film set, because there was a real process before it where we worked with Ryan and Greta and all the other actors. And then once we got onto set, there was a real sort of language between us. It was just fun. It was good fun.
Well, we got a clip right here that I'd kind of like to show you. Talk about kind of being on set, and this is a kind of really nice example of the derelict, but also the beauty that surrounds kind of where you shot. So let's take a look at our first clip from the film. You're terrifying.
Oh, thank you, Edith. You say all the right things.
No, everybody on set was scared of Matt.
Yeah,
I
it's a
was too,
scare-off
I didn't
between him
know.
and Ben Mendelsohn, though.
But also as like a first-time director, you know, it's like working with Matt. It's sort of like never shooting a gun and someone handing you a machine gun. You know, it was just like you came to set locked and loaded, and it was so intense, and it was really amazing.
Well, I want to ask what that experience was like for you, because obviously you're coming to this with an amazing kind of back catalogue experience as an actor, and then you're directing actors. So did that experience help, and how did you feel kind of being the boss and kind of, you know, telling these guys what you wanted and what you expected? And
Well, you know, I kind of felt like, what's George Clooney's character in Ocean's 11? Or whatever, Ocean. You know, you get to like pick like people who are the best at what they do. You know, you get to everyone's like the best in their field. You know, it felt like that. It just felt like they were all people that I had either worked with and just loved or admired. You know, Matt was somebody that one day I was watching TV and Doctor Who came on, and he was doing this scene. It's amazing. And he was doing this scene where he was like yelling at these alien spaceships with a microphone, and he was just doing it like a boss, you know? It's just like crushing it. And I remember thinking, like, as an actor, that I know that is a really, really hard scene to do, because I'm pretty sure those spaceships weren't there on the day. But he was so convincing and so good, and he's so unique. You know, there's nobody like Matt. You know, he just feels like those actors in the '70s to me. You know, they're just like they're their own thing. And I thought, like, I have to work with this guy. You know, so when he did the film, it wasn't like I was directing him, really. It was more like he was there because I wanted to see what he was going to bring and what he wanted to do. And I feel like generally that's how it kind of worked. You know,
Yeah.
It's just trying to create a space for them to do their thing.
I wanted to talk to you after we see this next clip about kind of collaboration and improvisation as well on set. And this is a great little scene between yourself and Saoirse.
Yeah, wow.
Billy and Rat.
See, well, you know, now we're talking, Saoirse.
Let's take a
Michael
look.
Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
I love the way you stay on her in that scene as well. And you kind of, but it's because the character, he's just always there. That's kind of
Yeah.
what you almost feel. You kind of don't know where he's hiding something.
That was one of my favorite scenes to shoot. It was such a crazy night, and really kind of one of those scenes where it felt like that's what we were trying to do, you know?
Yeah.
Where we wanted to find a way to incorporate people from the neighborhood, and it was a really hard thing to do, you know, which the actors did so beautifully, and Matt did, I think, like it's kind of my favorite scene in the movie, where we were shooting at a gas station, and it was the only gas station for blocks, and I think they were selling something else at the gas station that I don't know what it was, but it was something else, you know,
Sweets.
other than gas, and people really wanted it. And we were shooting, and they didn't care, you know, they just wanted it. And at a certain point, it got really tense because they were gonna. It felt like something was gonna go sideways. So we just said, okay, just like let them in, you know.
Yeah.
And into the scene, and then they started coming into the scene, and the actors would sort of bring them out of Detroit and into this kind of
It's the woman
fairy
with
tale world of
real
Lost
person.
River.
Yeah.
And there's a
the guy
woman-
in the gas station, yeah. they're
There's
all
a
real
woman
people.
that he dances with. It's this woman, Mama A.
Mama A.
And she just came off the street, and she's like, damn, you sexy. And he was like, and she was like, and they started like this crazy, they were dancing, and it was just insane. But you felt like you were watching like an actor work without a net. You know, there was something that was really kind of happening, and Matt just did such a beautiful job of bringing her into the world of the movie.
Oh, that's amazing. Because
And amazing as an actor as well, actually. And that was the wonderful thing about the process, you know, is that we were there and we do all the stuff like. Well, actually, I wouldn't. I had no makeup any day. I just get there, put my costume on, and go. That was it. Like, and I just get there, and then any idea that you'd have, like that, for instance, that scene, you know, we'd be filming, but the DP Benoit, who did such an amazing job as well, he's a real genius. There was a freedom and a sort of instinct to what people were doing, you know, and I think good directors is they trust the people around them and they invest in the people around them, and I think that's really the sort of spirit that we had on this film, is that you could take risks.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you found someone on the street, you'd be like, hey, come here, man. Or they just come instinctually because there's a film crew in Detroit and it was weird, and we just keep rolling.
But most regularly than not, you'd have kind of people trying to keep them out. But the fact that you kind of brought them into the film gives it another realness to it, and that genuine kind of reaction to things as well.
Yeah, we called them torpedoes. And they would just like, if the scene was getting too, you know, just like much like a scene, we'd send in a torpedo. And then they would come in and just blow it up.
Blow it up, man.
Is the old guy, the removal van, is he a real person?
Yes, yeah.
Amazing.
There's a, he's one of the, basically like a real version of what the characters are in the movie, where he grew up on that street and he's the last one there. So it's like, he's the only person left for like 5 blocks. And we're really lucky to get to do a scene with him.
Let's have a clip that show a couple of paid, proper cast members, not off the street. This is the brilliant Christina Hendricks and Ben Mendelsohn. Oh! There's so much about that. I mean, when I watched it, I was looking at every detail, at the mug with the dollar on it, and then when you cut to that scene of him coming in, you're kind of really messes with your head because it's slightly, and then he just completely messes with your head, totally.
Ben is like he's like a human ice cream truck, you know. When he comes around, everybody just lights up, you know. I worked with him on this film, A Place Beyond the Pines, and he would come to set with a boombox and he'd be playing 2 Live Crew, but singing it like he was Al Jolson, you know. And he's just got a magic to him, you know.
How much of that scene was scripted?
I think most of it was, but you know, Ben likes to improvise, and you want him to, you know.
Yeah.
He does like that sort of stuff.
Was that his idea? Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God! You're kind of is he taking the mick, or is he you know? And obviously, you find out a bit more going on in the film, sort of thing. It becomes a bit more. But yeah, that was his idea.
It was, and he also, like, one of the best things too is he does this terrifying dance number at the end of the movie, which I didn't know he was going to do, and it was like a scene where something like very scary had to happen, but I didn't want to know what it was, and I said, I'm just going to set up the camera and you do what you want to do. And then he came in and with his iPad, and he pressed play, and it was this song by Kendrick Lamar, like Bad Bitches.
Yeah.
Can I say that? And he started doing this terrifying dance routine, and it just kind of melted all of our faces off.
Yeah, I can confirm that it is absolutely terrifying. I mean, there's so much to the film and that scene as well. You almost, when you see that scene stand alone, the colorscape to it's so different to other parts of the film. It almost felt for me that kind of emotions had different colors to them in a way, that kind of helped you get in at the frame of mind as an audience member as to where you should be going with it. Was that a conscious thing? Is that, or am I kind of...
Yeah, well, we were trying to, with the film, make it blur the line between the fantasy and the reality. When you're in these neighborhoods, it's very real, but it's very surreal at the same time. And it was, you know, part of the reason why we tried to tell it in a fairy tale format was to try and find a way to tap into that surreal feeling, because if it were just sort of be trying to deal with the reality of it, you know, you wouldn't get the whole spectrum of it. So we thought like that we needed to add like a color that would be, you know, specific to the world, and I think we're all Purple Rain fans, and we just said let's go for purple, and that became the color of the film.
Yeah, that pink in the corridor as well. When you go down, it's kind of like,
yeah.
But what's really interesting about it is that, like, them, for instance, that first shot feels like 2000. It's like at times to me it feels like a science fiction movie. Like there's shots in it where, you know, like that, you're like, it feels like you're in a completely alien world. And like that scene, for instance, where they come down in the corridor, it could be straight out of a sort of science fiction movie, which I've, you know, I like science fiction. So
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that you drew a bit of inspiration from 80s family fantasy films.
Yeah.
That you kind of remember watching as a kid. That was inspirational for you.
Yeah, when I sent the script to my composer, Johnny Jewell, he read it, he just sent me a text a few hours later. It said, "Dark Goonies, cool." And I thought, yeah, okay,
Yeah, man.
like he gets it. You know, it was like we were trying to do our version of Goonies or Secret of Nim or like those early Spielberg Amblin films, but sort of, you know, by way of like how we feel about movies now. But you
Yeah.
know, so those 80s films were a big inspiration for sure.
Can we mention Ian as well,
Yes,
who is brilliant in the film as Bones? He's just
Scottish.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely my pleasure. What was it about him? Why was he right for this? And I mean, yeah, why Ian?
Ian's like, you know, he's tough as nails. You know, he's crazy. He's like, you know, he doesn't seem like it, but he is. He's just so. You know, for instance, like a way that some people make money in Detroit is they strip these abandoned buildings of all of their copper, and it's quite dangerous. But that's what the main character in the film does for money. And Ian moved to Detroit a month earlier, and he just stripped copper. And
Wow.
he, you know, walked every block of these really dangerous neighborhoods, and he just lived it, you know, and he totally immersed himself in it, and he really became this character. So he brought a level of authenticity to it that I don't think a lot of people would have had the guts to do.
Yeah,
you know?
you really believe him on all levels. Right, we've got time for a few questions from our audience. Just a few, I'm afraid. Okay, I'm going to start with the lady there with the flowery dress on. Is it flowery? Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. And you are a lady, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. As an actor myself, I'm inspired by both of your work, and I always have been. So I'm just wondering how you got to where you are in both of your careers at such a young age, and what advice you might have for someone trying to follow in your footsteps.
Well,
Matt.
I'm not that young. Age slowly wearing me down. No, I was a sportsman, weirdly enough, and I was lucky. I had a really wonderful teacher called Mr. Hardingham who sort of encouraged me into this thing called the National Youth Theatre. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? 21. So you should maybe like apply to it. It's a really good thing, and yeah, and you go in the summer and you do a course, and then you do a play, and then yeah. But I did it quite late on. I sort of fell into acting really, and here I am. But I think read as many plays as you can, as many films, go and see as many things as you can. Just try and immerse yourself in it, really.
And also just, you know, the way that I found Ian for the film was there's a website called Cast It, where you don't have to have an agent to audition for things. And I thought it was really amazing. I mean, he does, he's a, you know, I found his audition on there anyway, but it's a really great tool, I think, if you're a filmmaker or if you're an actor, because, like, well, for me anyway, you know, I saw like hundreds of auditions because of it, and these were, you know, so I got to see my movie sort of hundreds of different ways, you know, and it's very intimate because you make it yourself, so you don't have to go through a casting director, you don't have to go through an agent. I just feel like now is a great time if you want to do it, because there's so many ways to sort of like, you know,
be immediate to
yeah.
someone like Ryan, you know,
Yeah.
where you can go and he can see it.
Sure.
I'm going to go to the lady who's had her hand up for the last 3.5 minutes, so it's either going to fall off or we have to get the question from her. I'm afraid it's our last question, sorry.
Matt, for you, because you've not played many horrible characters, like did a Patrick Bateman,
Yeah.
and then like an educational film at NYT.
Yeah.
What was it like to go from playing the Doctor
Yeah.
when filming the 50th special to go and playing someone like Billy?
Oh, it was
Good
amazing.
question.
Like, yeah, that's a very good question as well. Yeah, I mean, it was you know, the amazing thing about Bully is that I feel like I still don't really know him. Like, I sort of want to play him again. Do you know what I mean? But it was wonderful, really, because there was a sort of, there was a chaos and a madness. And I read a book called The Far Side of Madness when I got this part. And it was all about the Messiah complex, and it was all about, weirdly, there's loads in it about copper, which I never told you, yeah, which I found in Detroit at that amazing bookstore, which was next to... the best bookstore I've ever been to. And I bought 3 books. I bought The Far Side of Madness, The Biology of Violence and Psychosis. And because I had nothing to do on my days off, I read all these books. And it was, yeah, it was, I don't know, this was a very special process, and it was great.
Brilliant.
Loved it, and I got to wear that jacket.
Did you get to keep it?
Yeah?
Yes!
Wearing it to Glastonbury this year,
Get it!
baby.
There we go, we're going to spot you a mile off.
no.
Amazing.
Oh, I shouldn't have said
Amazing. Yeah. Don't worry. Hey, listen, you've both got famous jackets,
Yeah.
so it's great. You know,
Yeah,
you've got
Battle
this
of the
one, you've got the
Jackets.
drive one, so it's it's fine.
I wore it for
Yeah.
Halloween, I'm ashamed.
Amazing. Is this the route you want to take now, the directing? Is this kind of the passion from this experience? Is that, you know, is the next project going to be a directing project again, or do you know yet?
I don't know. I loved it, and you know, I feel like, you know, you don't really know how to make a movie until you make one, and so now I feel like I learned so much from doing it. I'm anxious to get back in and, you know, try and apply that. But it's also, you know, I always admired, you know, guys that were able to do both, and I feel like they help each other out. You know, I feel like doing it helped me understand sort of what my role as an actor was in a film, and I think it's nice. Have you worked with directors that have acted?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
it's
well,
nice when
actually, just you, really.
well, that's
You've
the
directed
problem.
too, though.
It's like
Yeah.
nice. It's nice if they take acting classes or something. You know,
Yeah,
if they
it-
know a little
yeah.
bit about what it's
Yeah.
like. So, I think they help one another.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good job security, you know, because if they don't want to hire me anymore, I'll just hire myself. Yeah.
Well, listen, congratulations on this. Lost River is out in cinemas on Friday and on demand and on iTunes. Matt and Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank
you. Thank you so
very
much.
much. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Nice one, man. Thanks for coming.